Big episode today. We're talking 7 tips to win your fantasy football league. 7 practical tips on how to win fantasy football this year, your year-long league, how to actually dominate your league in this episode. Before we get into that, guys, I'm going to give you guys a huge chance to win a signed Christian McCaffrey jersey. Very simple to win, and it's actually a win-win situation. Now, I know you guys are tired of the league you guys use for fantasy football, whatever your platform is, whether it be the 4-letter network one, the Concheapsis one. I know I've used them before and they piss me off. Why? It's very simple, guys. Sometimes they freeze up. They're not customizable. They're run by the mainstream Concheapsis. So I found a site that's totally customizable. Listen to this, guys. In-app league polls. Yes, you can poll within your league. Check out this point. Custom points for defense making fourth down stops. That's huge as well. Not to mention if you want a super flex league, not to mention if you want tight ends worth more, not to mention if you want extra points for whatever thing you want to do on the field for fantasy football. Everything you guys need to customize your league. Now you're saying, Joe, I like it simple. I don't like it customizable. But believe me, guys, once you actually get the hang of this, fantrax.com/FFC, sign up right now, and it is the game changer. It's going to be a place where you can host your league, dynasty, whatever platform you use, 2-quarterback league, super flex league, totally customizable. You will be blown away at how non-Concheapsis this is. Go sign up to fantrax.com/FFC, and you are automatically entered for a Christian McCaffrey jersey. Go do that right now. You'll be very, very happy with this platform. I mean, there's a list here of things that you can customize. It's just too long to go through. I won't go through it. Go familiarize yourself with the platform. You're going to absolutely love it. Fantrax.com/FFC, okay? Last plug here, guys. 16-round draft solution. It's going to help you guys crush your league. Get it below at thefantasyfootballaccounts.com. You will be very, very impressed with how you're going to dominate your leagues as well. I'm telling you guys, the first ever only video training, sleepers, breakouts, dynasty, everything you guys need there as well. Head on over there to thefantasyfootballaccounts.com or link here below as well. All right, guys. So 7 tips to dominate your league, to win your league. How to win fantasy football. It's very simple, guys. These tips are practical. They're going to help you guys crush it, and I'm going to go through it with you right now. Smash thumbs up. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Fantasy football is around the corner. It's going to be nice to have these tips in your arsenal as well, okay? So tip number 1. This is very simple, guys. Very, very simple. Go robust RB. Now, I don't know if you've been following my social media lately. If you aren't, follow at Fantasy Football Counselor. I posted in my story mode. There is a Concheapsis guy, I won't name him here, who actually did a video. He works for a network. Did a video saying go 0 RB. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you other than the fact that he's an idiot. Because here's the deal, okay? And the thing is, it's like his reasoning to go 0 RB. If you guys don't know what 0 RB, I mean, it's common sense, right? It's like going wide receiver or tight end the first couple rounds. You got to go robust RB because it's the most scarce position. So his reasoning to go 0 RB, meaning don't draft a running back in the first couple, even 6 rounds, I think he said, is because running backs get hurt, because Christian McCaffrey and Saquon busted last year, and because there's so many committees. Those are the reasons to go robust RB. Listen, you understand, guys, it's the most scarce position. It's a position where durability plays a factor, right? Your running back could go down, which means you need a running back. Now you could say, well, Joe, I could have got myself James Robinson. Could you have got him last year? A lot of people, nobody had him last year. I mean, it's very rare. He fell under people's radar. He was undrafted free agent, right? And he kind of took off. But then that's a rare anomaly. You're going to get some of those guys that could break out. And I have sleepers at the running back position. I can mention guys like Michael Carter, stuff like that. But you want to load up on the most scarce position and have a backup plan for a backup plan, because again, after like literally the mid-second round, there really is no workhorses. You might get a Josh Jacobs. He's in a bit of a committee with Drake. I don't think he's a huge threat. And then you've got Montgomery. He's in a bit of a committee as well with Tariq Cohen and guys like that. So literally after like the second round, there's only like 9 running backs that are going to have like full volume, minimal committee to no committee, okay? You want to load up on those. Don't listen to people telling you 0 RB. You need running backs, robust RB, okay? That's tip number 1. Load up on that. And I explain all of this in the 16-round draft solution, okay? At thefantasyfootballcounselor.com, okay? Secondly here, guys, very important, tip number 2, balance your roster. What does that mean? So a lot of people tend to go for your so-called safe players, right? Players that are kind of like, you're based off last year did well, or they're kind of well-known names, that type of thing. And a lot of guys will just take a risk. They'll get a bunch of rookies. You need to have a good balance of guys that are proven 1, 2, 3, 4-year players, and then you need the guys that are basically going to have that upside, that huge ceiling. Last year we saw it with Justin Jefferson. I got him in the 8th round, and I explained that in the 16-round draft solution. So you need a good balance of, you got your secure players. There's no security. I hate saying secure, but players that you kind of know what to expect out of. And you get that a lot with quarterbacks, right? And then you've got your upside guys in a good position to succeed that have a huge ceiling. So tip number 2, again, is balance your roster, okay? So we got go robust RB, then we got balance your roster. Tip number 3, okay? Anchor your team with an ace quarterback. Now, I see it all the time. A lot of people say, I go wide receiver, I go some running backs, and I wait on quarterback. And literally, you can wait on quarterback because there's so many quarterbacks, there's so much depth at the position, especially in a 1-quarterback league. In a 2-quarterback league, you better load up earlier. But in a 1-quarterback league, you can literally wait and get yourself a good quarterback, especially this year. Matt Ryan, he's going to have a good year. Ryan Tannehill. There's a ton of quarterbacks that are primed for a solid fantasy production year that you can literally wait on them and they're like going undrafted. But what I like to do is try to get that quarterback to anchor my team, a guy that, we has been proven, a guy, let's say Russell Wilson for this year. I can get in the 5th, 6th round, a Dak Prescott that has been proven, that puts fantasy points up, is in a good position to succeed. And I know I'm going to get some big weeks out of him and a consistent guy all through the year. And then I back him up later with a backup, more volatile quarterback. But you need to anchor your team with an ace quarterback. I cannot explain to you how important that is, because you don't want to get a quarterback that you're streaming or a quarterback that's young and that busted. And you also don't want to overpay for a quarterback. We saw that with Lamar Jackson last year, okay? So ace quarterback, but get him for good value, best bang for your buck, best ADP. Don't overpay, but don't wait too long to lose those ace quarterbacks, okay? Tip number 4, this is very important. Do not listen to the mainstream rankings, the mainstream analysts, and the mainstream consensus, anything. Don't listen to them. Rankings are dead. Draft kits are dead. I'm telling you guys, I implore you guys, rankings are simply a guideline to give you an idea of when players are going off based on ADP to help you draft. Now, a lot of your league mates are going to be drafting based on ADP, and somewhat you got to kind of do that. You got to kind of know where the value is, but you got to know when the good players are coming off and when to draft them. For example, Justin Jefferson last year, I'm going to use him as an example. I got him in the 8th round. I suggested him in my 16-round draft solution to be drafted in the 8th round. So it's like you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and rankings lead you astray. Let's go over it. Last year, okay? And I can go year in, year out. Last year, Odell Beckham recommended in the 3rd round, busted. Michael Thomas recommended 1st overall, coming off a pinnacle year in 2019. In 2020, he busted, right? He was the first wide receiver off the board. And I said, rankings, don't trust him. Decline imminent, right? And in 16 rounds, I suggested you avoid him. Whereas if you just followed rankings, you would have drafted him as your first wide receiver and you would have busted. Kenny and Drake, top 10 running back last year, busted. I said, be careful. Years to Wallace were not wowed. Busted, right? Austin Eckler, backup. Once a backup, always a backup. Busted, right? And I can keep going. Lamar Jackson, round 2, first quarterback off the board. Rankings, across the board. Magazines, outdated, across the board. Busted. That's not how you draft. That's not how you win your leagues, guys. To win your leagues, you got to say, okay, well, Lamar's coming off a pinnacle year, coming off in the 2nd round. Does Joe recommend him in 16 rounds? Not really. I think that's a high ADP. When I can get myself Josh Allen in the 6th round, this was last year, right? That's what 16 round does. It gets you your best value for every single round, so you don't overpay and listen to the rankings. So do not listen to the mainstream rankings and the consensus analysts. Okay, that's tip number 4. Tip number 5, do not just go for a player and draft him because he's a popular name or because you like that team, okay? Now, I understand if you like Stephon Diggs, you like the Bills, then you can pick up Stephon Diggs. That's a good pickup, not bad value at the 1st round. Or whatever running back is crushing it this year. I like Cam Akers, right? End of 1st round. So it's like, okay, I like the Rams, Cam Akers. That's good. That's a smart decision. But if you like the Browns, don't draft Odell Beckham Jr. For God's sakes, he's a popular name. He's a marketable face, and I get it. But for God's sakes, man, people drafted him, way overdrafted him 4 years in a row, and he busted 4 years in a row. That should tell you something, right? And the mainstream, going back to tip number 4, don't listen to the mainstream. Going back now to tip number 5, these guys, just because of a popular name, what the mainstream pushes and the recency bias, should not be drafted predicated on that, okay? So don't just always go for the popular name, what the mainstream tells you, okay? Tip number 6, avoid recency bias. So similarly to the tip number 5 with the popular name, recency biased. Okay, this is very, very important. Going back, it's similar. It all ties in together with the rankings. What is recency biased? We see this in the sports card industry all the time. Now, I'm seeing it as I'm watching the NBA playoffs. A lot of these players that are, getting eliminated from the playoffs, like Donovan Mitchell got eliminated from the Utah Jazz. So his cards went down, but yet Devin Booker's still in the playoffs. His card is skyrocketing now because of the recency bias. Now, I'm not going to overpay and get myself a Devin Booker card now that it's inflated. I may get a Donovan Mitchell card because next year it's going to go back up as soon as he has a big game. So the card market really fluctuates and really increases when a player does well, and that card is hot, or that player has a big game or makes the all-star team or makes the playoffs. And then as soon as something happens, they fall off and nobody cares about that card. Don't let that happen to you in fantasy. And I'm seeing that trend translate over to fantasy. So players that have big weeks, or they have one big week and people go crazy on the waiver wire, but they're a 1 week wonder, or literally when you're drafting a player, you're drafting them based on last year and they had one good year, or they had 1 or 2 big games throughout the season last year, and you're drafting them, or you see them on the news and they're like, oh, Jalen Hurts is going to have a big year. And you're like, okay, yeah, the news keeps talking about him. It's like, do not just draft based on recency bias. Don't let that be the deciding factor. We're saying, Joe, what should be the deciding factor? Cuddy system. Are they consistent? Is there upside? Is there durability? Is there depth? Are they young? Are they consistent? Are they going to produce on a high level? How are they on the depth chart, right? So you got to look at all these things. Don't let recency bias control how you navigate. Don't always listen to the news, okay? And that goes in reality as well. Number 7 here, study depth charts. I cannot implore you enough. Go to the team that you're looking at, the player that you really want, and look at where he is slated on the depth chart on the NFL team page, okay? This is very important because you got to look at opportunity. Now, I'm giving an example here, and I could be completely wrong. Denver Broncos, okay? Denver Broncos have Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, years to wow us, we're not wowed. In comes Javonte Williams, who was drafted with early draft capital. Depth chart-wise, he doesn't look appealing, but when you look at him on ADP in a draft, you can get him for value after the 5th round, for example. Now I got Javonte Williams, a guy that could surpass Melvin Gordon. The barrier to entry to get that starting job isn't that huge, right? They want that workhorse running back. You got to look at scenario. You got to look at the depth chart. You got to look at, for example, Justin Jefferson. Let's keep using him. Last year I said 150 freed up targets with Diggs being gone. Jefferson looked good in college. Depth chart-wise, he looked good. He looked like the volume was going to be there, and I knew that I had a winner when I looked at volume, opportunity, and talent, okay? So tip number 7, study depth charts. And that is a good practical foundation for you guys. Go robust RB, balance your roster with upside and safety security, right? Tip number 3, ace running back, anchor your team. Tip number 4, don't listen to the mainstream Sheets' rankings or analysts at all. Number 5, do not go with the popular names. And tip number 6, avoid recency bias. And tip number 7, study depth charts. If you follow these tips, it's going to give you a practical, really good approach in regards to how you think and how you approach NFL fantasy football drafts. Okay, guys, or any fantasy football drafts for that matter. These tips have helped me, and they are really the foundation to build, okay? Now, if you really want to crush leagues and know which players I like, sleepers, breakouts, everything, get the 16-round draft solution at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com, and that is just going to really help you win your fantasy football league, okay? That's how you win. That's how you win fantasy football. You win with this practical advice and listening to these tips and getting 16 rounds. Okay, guys? Stay strong. Subscribe. Leave a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments, how do you win your fantasy leagues? Is there any tips you want to add? Take away. Let me know. I'd love to get your feedback. I am out. We'll talk soon.